students, in this lecture I am going to discuss about a multi-criteria decision making technique called analytic hierarchy process. The problem which I have selected is choosing a car by considering multiple criteria. Some steps of analytic hierarchy process I will cover in this lecture, the remaining steps I will cover in the next lecture. So, the agenda for this lecture is analytic hierarchy process, developing hierarchy, establishing priorities using AHP and pairwise comparisons. The remaining steps I will cover in the next lecture. Analytic hierarchy process developed by Thomas L. Saaty is designed to solve complex multi-criteria decision problems. AHP requires a decision maker to provide judgments about the relative importance of each criterion and then specify a preference for each decision alternative using each criterion. The output of AHP is a prioritized ranking of decision alternatives based on overall preference expressed by the decision maker. So, this technique is a multi-criteria techniques. So, at the end we will get a overall preference of different alternatives. The example problem which I have taken here is choosing a car, selecting a car. There are three types of car. I call it car A, car B and car C. For choosing the car, I have considered four criteria. One is the price of the car, the second one is miles per gallon. Here the miles per gallon is kind of a mileage, then comfort and style. The information for the car selection problem is given in this table. This example is taken from the book Anderson et al. What are the criteria? Price, color, miles per gallon, interior, body type and sound system. What are the three alternatives? Car A, car B and car C. You see that with respect to price, the car B, the price is the highest one. Okay. So, we can choose a particular car by considering these criteria. Here the weightage for the criteria will differ person to person. In the previous slide, data regarding the price and miles per gallon are provided. However, measures of comfort and style cannot be specified so directly. For example, price and miles per gallon can be given directly in the form of absolute number. For example, comfort and style, these are qualitative factors. This cannot be given directly. So, we need to consider factors such as car's interior, type of audio system, ease of entry, seat adjustment and driver visibility in order to determine the comfort level of each car. The style criterion, that also qualitative in nature, will have to be based on the decision maker's subjective evaluations of the color and the general appearance of each car. Because the style will differ the decision maker's expectation. For different decision makers may prefer different style. Even when a criterion such as price can be easily measured, subjectivity becomes an issue whenever a decision maker indicates his or her personal preference for the decision alternative based on the price. Even though the price is quantitative in nature, but here we are going to consider kind of a even though the price is quantitative in nature, but here we are going to consider price in the form of a subjective evaluation. Thus, whether the car C is considered extremely more expensive than car A, or perhaps only moderately more expensive than the C, depends upon the financial status. Whether the car C is considered extremely more expensive than the car A, or perhaps only moderately more expensive than the C, depends upon the financial status and the subjective opinion of the persons making the comparison. So, with respect to decision makers, the concept of expensive will differ. Some decision maker may say extremely more expensive, but other person may say moderately more expensive. This is based on their buying capacity. An advantage of AHP is that it can handle situations in which the unique subjective judgment of the individual's decision maker constitute an important part of decision making process. So, here with respect to decision makers, the priority level of decision makers will taken into consideration while making the decision. Here the hierarchy of the car selection problem. What is the overall goal? There are different hierarchy. First hierarchy is the select the best car. Next level is the criteria: price, miles per gallon, comfort and style. Here price and miles per gallon, we did not take the absolute value. We have considered this as a qualitative nature. Then decision alternatives: car A, car B, car C. So, this is the hierarchy of the given problem. The first step in AHP is to develop a graphical representation of the problem in terms of the overall goal, the criteria to be considered and the decision alternatives. Such a graph depicts the hierarchy for the problem. Look at the right hand side, you can see there are different hierarchy: hierarchy 1, hierarchy 2, hierarchy 3. Note that the first level of hierarchy shows that the overall goal is to select the best car. The second level there are 4 criteria: price, miles per gallon, comfort and style. Each contribute to the achievement of the overall goal. Finally, the third level, each decision alternative A, B and C contributes to the criterion in a unique way. Using AHP, the decision maker specifies the judgment about the relative importance of each of the 4 criteria in terms of its contribution to the achievement of the overall goal. So, here the decision maker, out of this 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria, he need to consider the priority, whether the price is important while selecting the car, or the miles per gallon is important, or the comfort is important, or style is important. So, first he has to say what is the priority. Developing the hierarchy, at the next level the decision maker indicates a preference for each decision alternative based on each criterion. For example, we have price. With respect to price, he has to say there are 3 cars A, B and C, which is most preferable for him. There is a mathematical process is used to synthesize the information on the relative importance of the criteria. We are going to consider there are 4 criteria. There is a mathematical process behind relative importance of the criteria and the preference for the decision alternatives to provide an overall priority ranking of the decision alternatives. So, these steps I will explain in the next slide and the next lecture. In the car selection problem, AHP will use decision makers' personal preference to provide a priority ranking of 3 cars in terms of how well each of car meets overall goal of being the best car. The priority will change the decision maker to decision maker. For example, decision maker A may say something, decision maker B may prefer something. So, the priority will differ the decision maker's personal preference. The another point here is the mathematics behind this AHP is the matrix. Now, we are going to establish priorities using AHP. In this lecture, I will show how AHP uses pairwise comparison expressed by the decision makers to establish priorities for the criteria and priorities for decision alternatives based on each criteria. So, everywhere we are going to do pairwise comparison. So, we are going to do pairwise comparison among the criteria, and with respect to each criteria we are going to do pairwise comparison for each alternative. Okay. Using the car selection example, I show how AHP determines priority for each of the following. Number 1, how the 4 criteria contributes to the overall goal of selecting the best car. So, we have to prioritize. There are 4 criteria, which is most important. What is your preference? What is your weightage for this 4 criteria? And how the 3 cars compare using the price criterion, how 3 cars compare using the miles per gallon criterion, how 3 cars compare using comfort criterion, and the last one, how the 3 cars compare using style criterion. In the following discussion, we demonstrate how to establish priorities for 4 criteria in terms of how each contributes to the overall goal of selecting the best car. The priorities of the 3 cars using each criterion can be determined similarly. So, at present I am going to explain how to find the priority among the 4 given criteria. Pairwise comparisons form the fundamental building blocks of AHP. In establishing the priorities for the 4 criteria, AHP will require decision makers to state how important each criterion is relative to each other criterion when the criteria are compared 2 at a time. So, that is why we are calling it pairwise comparison. That is, with the 4 criteria, price, miles per gallon, comfort and style, decision maker must make the following pairwise comparison. What are they? Price versus miles per gallon, then price versus miles per gallon, price versus comfort, price versus style, miles per gallon versus comfort, miles per gallon versus style, then finally comfort versus style. Here, for the comparison purpose, we are going to use a comparison scale. So, the comparison scale for the importance of criteria using AHP. So, what are the comparison scale? The first one, we start from the bottom. If it is equally important, if 2 criteria are equally important, we call it as 1. Moderately more important, we can give 2 or 3. Strongly more important, we can give 4 or 5. Very strongly more important, 6 and 7. Extremely more important, 8 and 9. Remember, there is no 0 here. In each comparison, decision maker must select the more important criterion and then express a judgment of how much more important the selected criterion is. For example, in the price miles per gallon pairwise comparison, assume that the decision maker indicates that the price is more important than miles per gallon. To measure how much more important price is compared to miles per gallon, AHP uses a scale with values from 1 to 9. The table which are shown in the right hand side shows the decision maker's verbal description of the relative importance between 2 criteria is converted into numerical rating. So, first you have to see which is more important, then how much is more important, that numerical value has to be picked from the table which is given on the right hand side. In the car selection example, suppose the decision maker states that the price is moderately more important than miles per gallon. Where is moderately more important? This one, moderately more important. In this case, the numerical rating 3 is assigned. See that this 3 is assigned. You can select 2 also, but here it is up to you to decide, but it has to be consistent. If you say moderately more important, you can go for 3 also and 2 also. Then if you feel that it is more moderately important, then you can go for 3, but it has to be consistent. In this case, the numerical rating of 3 is assigned to the price miles per gallon pairwise comparison. So, that is why you see that the 3 is entered. So, if in case the price is equally to moderately more important, okay. Now, we are jumping from equally to moderately more important, then the numerical scale should be 2. Suppose if the price is equally to moderately to more important than style, okay. Again it is 2, equally to moderately more important. Suppose if you say comfort is moderately to strongly more important. So, from moderately to strongly more important, it has to be 4. If the style is equally to moderately more important, then the 2. So, where we have to see from which level to which level we are moving. Summary of pairwise comparison of the 4 criteria for car selection problem. So, this slide is more important because this value we are going to pick up and use it for further analysis. So, what is the first pairwise comparison? I have compared price and miles per gallon. The decision maker, I asked which is more important for you. He says the price is most important. How much important than miles per gallon? He was saying moderately. So, if it is moderately, control P, if it is moderately, it is 3. Then I asked price versus comfort, again he say price is important. How much price is important when compared to comfort? Equally to moderately 2. So, these values I have taken from the previous table which is given in the previous slide. So, there are 2 points I want to emphasize. Whenever we do the pairwise comparison, first you have to see which is most important, then you have to say how much is more important than the other criteria. As shown, the flexibility of AHP can accommodate the unique preference of each individual's decision maker. First, the choice of the criteria that are considered can vary depending upon the decision maker. Not everyone would agree that price, miles per gallon, comfort and style are the only criteria to be considered in a car selection problem. Perhaps you would want to add safety, resale value and other criteria if you are making the car selection decision. AHP can accommodate any set of criteria specified by the decision maker. Of course, if additional criteria are added, more pairwise comparison will be necessary. In addition, if you agree with the decision maker that price, miles per gallon, comfort and style are the 4 criteria to use, you will probably disagree with him as to relative importance of the criteria. Using the format of table which is given on the right hand side, you could provide your own assessment of the importance of each pairwise comparison, and AHP would adjust the numerical rating to reflect your personal preferences. For example, somebody has given 3, you can give it to 4 also. It is up to you to decide. For example, here somebody given 2, you can make it 3. Here instead of 3 you can give 4. instead of 4 you can give 6. So, it will differ the decision makers to decision maker. To determine the priorities for the 4 criteria, we need to construct a matrix of the pairwise comparison rating provided in the table. Look at the right hand side, there are 4 criteria. So, we have to make a table like this. Using the 4 criteria, the pairwise comparison matrix will consist of 4 rows and 4 columns. There are 4 rows and 4 columns. Each of the numerical rating in table, the table which is given at the bottom, must be entered into the pairwise comparison matrix. As an illustration of this process, consider the numerical rating 3 for the price and miles per gallon. For example, see the first one. When you compare price and miles per gallon, when you do pairwise comparison, the price is more important. How much is more important? Moderately. What is the score for moderately? It is 3. So, 3 has to be entered here. So, the table shows that for this pairwise comparison that the price is most important criterion. Thus, we must enter a 3 into the row labeled price. See, we compared price and miles per gallon, price is more important. So, whichever is more important, you have to pick up that row. Then for corresponding criteria, price is 3 times more important than miles per gallon. So, you have to enter 3. In general, the entries in the column labeled most important here. For example, the price is the entry when we compare price and miles per gallon. So, with respect to price, we have to enter 3. As another illustration, consider miles per gallon and comfort. Where is a miles per gallon? Here, this is miles per gallon and comfort. Which is more important? Comfort is most important. How much score? It is a 4. So, we have to catch this comfort row. So, when and corresponding miles per gallon, you have to enter this 4. Okay. So, the table shows that the comfort is the most important criterion for this pairwise comparison and the numerical rating is 4. That is why we given 4. Likewise, we have to do for all criteria. So, we have entered 4 here. Following this procedure, for the other pairwise comparison shown in the table, we obtain the following pairwise comparison matrix, which is in the given at the right hand side. For example, when you compare stale and miles per gallon, you see stale and suppose you are here miles per gallon stale, which is more important? Stale is more important. How much the rating? It is 4. So, this 4. Suppose you compare miles per gallon and comfort, which is more important? Comfort is more important. So, we have entered already 4. For example, if you compare price and style, price is more important. How much? When you compare price and style, it is 2. So, we have entered this table by looking at the table which is given at the bottom. Because the diagonal elements are comparing each criterion to itself, the diagonal elements of the pairwise comparison matrix are always equal to 1. So, here we entered 1, 1, 1, 1. For example, if the price is compared to price, the verbal judgment would be equally important with the rating of 1. Thus, a 1 would be placed into the row labeled price, into the column labeled price in the pairwise comparison matrix. At this point, the pairwise comparison matrix appear as follows, because we have entered 1, 1, 1 in the diagonal. All that remains is to complete the entries for the remaining cells of the matrix. So far, we have entered the bottom one. There are some cells which are not filled, that I am going to fill it now. To illustrate how these values are obtained, consider numerical rating of 3 for the price miles per gallon pairwise comparison. Look, consider this 3. This rating implies that since already we have entered 3, so here we are going to enter 1 by 3. When we compare price and comfort in 2, so when you compare comfort and price, it should be 1 by 2. For example, when you compare price and style, it is 2. When you compare style and price, it should be inverse of this 1 by 2. And you see comfort and miles per gallon, it is 4. Then miles per gallon and comfort, it should be 1 by 4. You see style versus miles per gallon, it is 4. Then miles per gallon versus style should be 1 by 4. When you compare style and comfort, it is a 2. When you compare comfort and style, it should be 1 by 2. So, we are entering the inverse of that value. For example, here what is the meaning of this 1 upon 3? This rating implies that miles per gallon price pairwise comparison should have rating of 1 upon 3. This indicates because the decision maker already indicated the price is moderately more important than miles per gallon, the rating of 3, we can infer that the pairwise comparison of miles per gallon relative to price should be 1 upon 3, then only that relationship will be maintained. That is the logic behind we are writing inverse of each number. What we understand, if the upper diagonal or the lower diagonal of the pairwise comparison matrix is given, we can fill that remaining portions easily. Similarly, because the comfort and miles per gallon, see this, it is 4. The miles per gallon and comfort, it should be 1 upon 4. Thus, the complete pairwise comparison matrix for the car selection criteria is as follows. That is given in the table on the right hand side. This is the complete pairwise comparison by considering all the inverse of given pairwise comparison values. Dear students, in this lecture, so far I have explained how to do a pairwise comparison for the given criteria. In the next lecture, by using this pairwise comparison, I will explain how to get the priority level for the criteria. We have 4 priority. I will identify which priority is most important for the decision makers, and also I will explain how to get the overall priority level considering both criteria and alternative.